This is Mrs. Naslund, and today I'm going to read you a story called Earth is All the Home We Have. It's a science fiction story, and as we read, we're going to look at some of the traits or characteristics that make up science fiction stories. Here we go. Earth is all the home we have. New Year's Day, 3012, 5 days to departure. First, I want you to notice that the author has set the story in the future. It is the year 3012. Many sci-fi stories, most science fiction stories, are set in the future. My name is Jim Smith, and my family is one of the pioneers in space families. People all over the world know the names of the families who are going, and we have to go. I'm going to record my thoughts for the next 5 days. My English teacher, we call her Mrs. E, thinks it'll help me prepare for leaving. Jim, she told me, you've got a gift for the English language. I know you've got mixed emotions about leaving. Keep a journal will help you deal with these feelings. But how can I deal with something so monumental? My family will be leaving everything behind, this town, this country, this world. I know the planet is in terrible shape. How can I not know? For almost a year, I've had to wear air purifier buds in my nose when I go out. It used to be only on the bad days, but now every day is a bad day. People once needed air to live, but now air is a killer trying to strangle us. Then there are the planets. I hear stories of how grass, flowers, and trees were everywhere. They were gone by the time I was born, all but the melic trees. Scientists created them in the 2930s to survive in the bad air. But when they died off a few years ago, how can I miss something I barely knew? And yet I do miss them. The author introduces the plot. Jim and his family are a part of a group leaving their home planet in search of a better world for everyone. Does this sound like how Earth could be in 3012? The author introduces elements based on scientific fact. We all know that if we keep using Earth's natural resources at the rate we are, our planet will be in trouble. The author is also trying to get readers to think about how we live today. So you'll see, again, something that could happen in the future based on things that, if we don't take care of our environment, some of these bad things could happen. I know there also used to be lots of life forms sharing this planet. I learned about them in the shared files. Now they are just people and a few furry critters like Skipper, who is curled up beside me snoring as I write this. It makes me angry to realize what we've lost. For centuries and centuries, we thought we could do whatever we wanted to this planet. In spite of what the scientists said, we kept cutting down trees, killing things that go in our way, and sending poisons into the air. We turned a strong, healthy world into a sad, sickly invalid. Now it is too late to heal her. We have to leave to survive. 4 days to departure. I told Mrs. E that I'm keeping a journal. She thinks it'll be an important document that could become part of our new history. Write about a pioneers in space resettlement program, she said. Create a record of the events that led to the departure. Well, okay, but where should I begin? I don't have time to cover everything that went wrong. I guess I'll start with the floods. By the mid-2700s, coastal floods had covered miles and miles of shoreline all over the world. But it was the tidal waves of '48 that did the most damage, wiping out islands that had been homes to millions of people. Then came the dry times that destroyed the remaining crops and started the food wars. We've slowly had to switch over to a GenFab diet of genetically fabricated food. The author gives the story a dark, grim tone by showing the sequence of events that led to the deterioration of the narrator's planet. Note that the story is being told in the first person by Jim. Again, we know it's the first person because we see words like I, and it's dark. It tells of the world kind of falling apart, and that's a characteristic that we also usually see in science fiction. As things got worse and worse, the world's greatest scientists began to work on a planetary resettlement program. About 25 years ago, they established two teams. Team 1 sent out probes to all parts of the galaxy and beyond, trying to find another planet that could support life as we know it. As data streamed back from the probes, the Team 1 scientists analyzed the results. Amazingly, 2 possible planets were found. In both cases, there were major differences. We would have to adapt to survive. After much study, the team decided that one planet on the other side of the galaxy was really the only place for us. The author develops the plot by providing details about where Jim and his family are going, to a planet on the other side of the galaxy. Space travel is a common theme for science fiction stories. Meanwhile, Team 2 worked on speeding up interplanetary travel. The plan was to send a few pioneer families out, adapt for life on this new planet, to see if we could indeed become a new home. The advanced families would have to be able to get there within months, not years. We all know that global resettlement must start in 12 months. Even then, many won't make it. 2 years ago, Team 2 had a breakthrough in fusion conversion. Mrs. E probably expects me to supply details here for the record, but I can't. I don't understand all that scientific theory. All that matters to me is this. We pioneers can now get to our destination in just under 2 months. Many families were selected at random to be possible pioneers, but only those families who passed several tests were finally chosen to go, those with minds and bodies strong enough to survive. One other thing I want to point out is oftentimes in science fiction, there'll be some type of science breakthrough that'll come through to help explain some of the high-tech stuff that comes up. Then we pioneers had to go to a class to learn about the area of the new planet we would be resettling, its language, its inhabitants, using probe data. And we underwent several operations to change our appearances and voices so that we would fit in. That pretty much covers it. I'm too tired to continue now, but more tomorrow. 3 days to departure. My journal kept calling me all day, but I had no chance to write. We spent the day finalizing our packing list and doing some house cleaning. Now I'm typing my journal with Skipper, looking on, his furry head close beside me. I'm glad that I'm not leaving everything behind. I've got my family, Mom, Dad, my sister Mary, and Skipper. I'm good friends with 2 kids in the other family settling near us, but there are so many people I'll be leaving behind. It's Gary, Dex, Mem, and Mrs. E. The author tells more about Jim and his feelings, family, and friends. Readers get to know the main character and like him. So you start kind of seeing who the main character is. I can't go on writing. My heart feels like it's going to explode. It may not be much of a world now, but it's the only one I know. This new world, I have no idea what it will be like to live there. 2 days till departure. We just had a family council. It was a chance for all of us to talk about our fears and hopes. Mom admitted that she couldn't help wondering if some of the data collected was invalid. All it would take is one mistake and we'd be doomed. Something in the new world might make us sick or kill us, or we wouldn't fit in for some tiny reason. Like our eyelashes were too thick, and then we couldn't make the necessary changes to the planet so that the others could come. Dad pointed out that we were doomed if we didn't go. This world doesn't have much longer to live. You know that? He said. All the scientists agree that we have less than 2 years left. We stand a better chance on this new planet. The author builds suspense by telling readers the potential pros and cons of Jim's family making the trip. Although he lives in the future, readers can identify with his feelings and problems. We have to trust the scientists, Mary said. They've spent years checking and rechecking the data. It'll be okay, Mom. Mom tried to smile reassuringly, but I could tell she was still worried. I was worried too. I was thinking about some of the odd behaviors of the major inhabitants of the planet. I wanted to run through some role-playing to make sure we know how to behave with them. We spent the whole afternoon dreaming up and acting out scenarios. We had to keep reminding one another that the year was only 2015. Skipper happily joined in, but otherwise had nothing to contribute. Weird. Careful readers will pick up on Jim's mentioning that year 2015 and wonder if time travel, another common theme in science fiction, is going to be part of the story. Jim's comment about Skipper acting weird is also a hint to the reader that something else is going on in this story. One day till departure. I'm going to spend the day saying goodbye to my friends and finishing up with packing. I'll give Mrs. E a copy of my journal up now so she can see what I wrote. I'm back. Mrs. E was thrilled with my journal. She's going to use it with the kids in her English class and send it along to the other teachers. This will help the rest of the children and young people get ready, she told me. She obviously believes that we pioneers will be successful, and after a while everyone else can come too. I have to believe it too. Maybe I'll start another journal when we're in our new home. Wow, those words keep echoing in my brain. Our new home. Departure day. This is my last journal entry for Mrs. E. I'll send it just before we get the ship and leave my telepad. The author imagines fun futuristic technologies, the telepad and the Instaport behind. I would be too dangerous to bring such technologies, advances things with us. Right now, I'm sitting in the Instaport, along with the rest of my family. We're all wearing our new clothes, trying to get comfortable in them. My sister looks morose. I hate the way the doctors made me look, and I have my new name, she mutters. Mom nods sympathetically and says, I know, dear, but these are the things we have to do to fit in. We don't want the inhabitants to think we're strange. Later, it won't matter, Dad points out. Not after we've made the necessary changes to their planet. Suddenly, I see our ship off in the distance. I get so excited I forget myself and blurt out, Snornorlix? Speak English, Skipper says sharply. You've been studying with Mrs. English for long enough. Everyone looks at him warningly. I mean, arf, arf, he says, shaking his furry head and wagging his tail the best that he was able to. With a little more practice, I think Skipper will make a very good family dog in our new home. The story ends with a plot twist. Jim's family is not fleeing Earth. They are not going there. The author is using another common theme in science fiction, parallel universe, and is also making a point about how we live today. She wants readers to think about what could happen if we don't take better care of our planet. All right, so that concludes an example of our science fiction reading